Before I start, I wanted to say, while I greatly respect Nina and Pise, I do want to say that I do not think you can term Nazi Germany a secular state. Adolf Hitler was Roman Catholic, pledged he was a Roman Catholic until he died. He was never excommunicated. The Nazis had concordance with the Roman Catholic Church, a whole variety of them, and Lutheran, and the Vatican, and they put Gott mit uns on your buckle belts, God with us. And the Holocaust was clearly a product of Christian anti-Semitism, so I don't think that we can call that a secular state. I briefly mentioned that the United States has a godless constitution, and it was the first nation to not put a God in a written constitution, and I think that's one reason why we have the longest lived constitution to date in history. And I think that the founders underestimated the immediate backlash by religionists in fighting our secular constitution. They were more worried about the monarchy emerging again. But we have a First Amendment that was adopted. The Constitution itself says there's no religious test for public office. It says sovereignty is in we the people. It says that it gives the oath of office for the president. There's no put your hand on the Bible, no, so help you God. The First Amendment said Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And under the 14th Amendment, that applies to state citizens, although most people don't know that in America. And but we are on the defensive constantly. And since the 50s, when godlessness was equated with communism, there was a lot of harm done when Congress supplanted our original secular motto, from many come one, e pluribus unum, with in God we trust. And that's now on all the coins and all the currency. And then of course we have a Pledge of Allegiance that's required in most of the schools. It's a state matter, so each state's different. And it was secular, and in 1954 there was a campaign by various religionists taking the credit, including the Roman Catholic Knights of Columbus, to insert under God in this Pledge of Allegiance, which equates piety with patriotism. And this has been tremendous, these symbolic violations have been tremendously harmful. July 4th, of course, is the United States Independence Day. That's coming right up. And we have a major PR campaign at the Freedom from Religion Foundation. It's our most expensive campaign to date. Full-page ads in about 20 papers, including the New York Times and the LA Times, celebrating our godless Constitution with pictures of the framers and founders of the Constitution, the first 4 presidents, citing their views on religion and their views on keeping religion out of government. And we're doing this because since 2008, Hobby Lobby, which is a huge inferior craft store that you see everywhere around the country, very well endowed, takes full-page ads every July 4th in virtually every daily newspaper in the United States with huge "In God We Trust" and disinformation that the United States is founded on God and Christianity. And we get so many complaints by our members, so we're trying to fight back because it's that kind of thing that really creates confusion and disrespect for the Constitution. People just, whole generations are growing up not realizing we have a separation of church and state. I won't talk a lot about the various problems we have there. I do want to go to the contraceptive issue in our country. Obama passed the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and he has a contraceptive mandate, which means that if you're a woman who gets employed, who gets insurance, you can't be double billed essentially for contraception. The coverage is to be free. And when he announced this, he immediately said, this does not apply to the churches, so no denomination has to ensure that their workers have contraceptive health care. But it's been an immediate pushback from the Roman Catholic, the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops, and now the fundamentalists, the Protestants who used to be okay with contraception are now joining the Catholic Church. And they want any employee for religious reasons to be able to veto contraceptive coverage for women. And this Obamacare is a huge, it hasn't quite gone into effect. It's going to, well, it went into, I guess the contraceptive went into effect in is going into effect in August. This is a huge advance for women because when you're on insurance coverage, most of the insurance policies made you pay separately for your birth control pills, $60 to $90 a month. So this is something that women have really been looking forward to. And there are now about 50 lawsuits against the contraceptive mandate. And one of them, or two of them, I'm not sure which, is by Hobby Lobby, by the way, because they're religious and they want to be able to deny all their women employees contraceptive coverage. Most of the lawsuits are by the various Roman Catholic dioceses. Some are taken by the Koch brothers, you've probably heard of them, and some by the various fundamentalists. And so far, the lower courts are striking them back, but of course their goal is to take this before the U.S. Supreme Court. And so that's a huge issue. I mean, contraception has not been a big issue for our country. The coverage of it has been, but now there's a great deal of interest in denying contraception to women. Rebecca Watson was going to cover abortion, but I didn't look everything up, but I'll talk generally about it. Roe versus Wade was passed in 1973 by the Supreme Court, which was early, legalizing abortion nationwide. Some of the states had already had it, but we've been in a defensive posture ever since it passed. And since the Tea Party creation, several years ago, giving tea a bad name in the United States, which I don't like because I'm a tea drinker, it's on unprecedented numbers of bills being introduced in each of the states to somehow cut away from abortion reform. And this year, 2 states so far have passed bans on abortion. I think it's Arkansas is 6 weeks and North Dakota is 10 weeks. And these are clearly going to be struck down by the district courts that they go before, but the aim of the anti-abortionists is to have a case wend its way up to our very bad Supreme Court, and if not overturn Roe versus Wade, what they're really aiming for is to turn it back to the states. And when Roe versus Wade was passed, 33 states banned abortion with no movement in sight. It was a bad situation. We needed the courts to rescue women's rights. In the state of Wisconsin, where I'm from, they never removed the anti-abortion ban. It's still on the books because the legislators hope it will go back to the states and then abortion will be illegal again. So that's the situation where they're hoping to prevail in that way. And if you saw the good coverage, the good decisions by the Supreme Court on gay rights this last week, the one on Proposition 8 in California, where they let stand the lower court ruling, they could use that as precedent to say it should be states' rights for abortion as is now states' rights for gay marriage. And of course, I feel that if you have a constitutional right, it can't depend on what state you happen to live in. There's a number of there's constant attempts to put fetal personhood in our state constitutions, that life begins at conception, the Roman Catholic dogma. As Ophelia mentioned, most counties don't offer abortions. So there is, if you're poor, if you can't travel, if you're young, you can really be out of luck. And another big problem, as she mentioned, are the hospital mergers, where public hospitals or secular private hospitals will voluntarily enter into agreements with Roman Catholic hospitals, which tend to dominate in many states. And then they will voluntarily agree to follow a Roman Catholic dogma. I mean, it's a huge issue, even in liberal states like the state of Washington, where FFRF is working on. There's like 30 mergers going on. So the Roman Catholic Church really is a big problem throughout the United States, and I always say they're a worse enemy than the Protestant fundamentalists, who probably get more flack. And then finally, a huge problem in our country is vouchers. And we're in the center of that in the state of Wisconsin, where this is where you have payment for private schools, and almost all of them are religious schools. And so you can move your kid out of a public school and then get the tuition paid by taxpayers for this private school. And we are going to see the creation of 2 two parallel systems, and it's going to bankrupt us, and of course it's going to dummy down the nation. It starts with supposedly giving poorer children choice, school choice. The same people who promote school choice are very anti-choice when it comes to abortion. And they can be indoctrinated unless their parents say they can't be. All of this public funded. No accountability. In the state of Wisconsin, they don't have to take the same tests. The idea was, the exclusive, religiously segregated schools must be better because they're exclusive. And yet the same standards do not apply to them. And we just got a very bad law passed in Wisconsin, the worst in the nation. And unfortunately, there's a very bad decision. We can't do too much about it. And there's 2 Supreme Court decisions that are bad. And they've been slow to be implemented, but it's going to be a huge fight. So, we have a very good constitution, but defending it is full-time plus work. And can't take secularism for granted.